Volume and light test. Volume and lighting test. Volume and lighting test. Volume and lighting test. Shaky table. Volume and shaky table. Shaky table. Alright. As you guys know, I just finished a documentary called Analysis on Analysis. I call it a mini documentary. That's what it ended up kind of being. It's really just a one-sided documentary. Same with this one. This is a... I'm going to do the story of the flow and the natural order of things in 2 parts. I'm going to cram them together. And those are the important tracks. Those are the real songs that we recorded and played. They're not just remixes and matchups. A lot of people associate DJ analysis with remixes and matchups and crap like that. But I've been recording since I was 19, and it was really crappy. We started out, me and Cue Ball. I was banging on bongos and synthesized crappy old keyboards, and he was doing the same, and we were recording it to cassette tape. And not too many of those recordings survived. You might hear a couple of them on Never Sleep and on Emerald, Industrial Modern Rock Live. But you got Quinn McDonald, me and Quinn jamming out for a while. And then we brought on Joey. Joey seemed to be like the little dark edge we needed. We used to make, I guess you would just call it electronic music, no matter what. It was genreless, me and Quinn. And Joey kind of came in and solidified that dark note. And you'll be able to hear that anytime you hear that low, deep Joey voice in any of the songs. You'll know, oh shit, there's that dark guy. Okay. And tragically, there's some songs he didn't end up having a vocal for, or they ended up like Saholat Mina. I'll get into that later with the P-Disco material. You know, Joey, it would have been great to have him on Saholat Mina. And that really was just like, Saholat Mina wasn't even like a completed song. It was just like a rehearsal live recording. You know, that's what you get on that. And that's why I always call Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends kind of like a glorified EP mixtape. You know, that just kind of showed off some of our best singles. Now, when I uploaded all the albums to Mixcloud and the singles to SoundCloud, I remastered all of them. And you have to understand, if you were to hit play on all of the recordings from the flow and the natural order of things, you would actually listen for months. A couple of months, probably, straight through. There is more flow in the natural order of things than there is all Star Trek. And that's a fact. The inspiration for this video, and the last video, Analysis on Analysis, the last video, I was actually inspired by April Trinka. I want to get this shout out of the way because she kind of, you know, I knew these things. I think these things, and I act out these things. I am more analysis than I am Charlie. So it's kind of impossible to like me and not like my music. You know, it's literally impossible. Because I eat, breathe, sleep, and regurgitate my own shit. It's just not the same. What I'm trying to say is, people don't feel the way I do about this stuff, and you're gonna hear that as I talk about other band members throughout this. Like I'm the passionate one. I'm the one that kept recording and kept going. And April reminded me that the DJ analysis stuff, the remixes and the matchups they're not art. They're math. That's me exposing something, you know, or exploiting a sound, like an audio magician. I don't count the remixes and matchups as art, okay? Even if they are artistically done, I don't count them as mine, and I certainly do not feel better or get an ego boost out of it. It's not for an ego boost at all. As I stated, there's 7 albums on Mixcloud that I've made up of our songs. I took 101 singles. I really did whittle down the list a lot. We had way too many songs and instrumentals. We were mainly instrumental. I wanted to point that out too. And every now and then we'd make singles. The albums that are on Mixcloud are called Subtle Shuttle, 40 Minutes of Horror, Never Sleep, and Fucks 4. And those are the 4 Flow in the Natural Order of Things era albums. Excuse me. DJ Analysis, me, DJ Friday, Quinn, and he was originally Mixmaster Q, so you'll hear him be referenced to Mixmaster Q a lot in the Saturday Night Live on Saturday Night Live or Industrial Modern Rock Live, and it wasn't until P-Disco, Psycho-delic Disco, that he changed his name to Friday, but Friday is a much better name. It doesn't sound like Mixmaster Mike, you know what I'm saying, from the Beastie Boys, or not from the Beastie Boys, but from that track on the Hello Nasty. But yeah, April reminded me of that, and I reminded her, well, you know, I don't really, you know, I do these remixes and matchups to get them out of my head. You know, if I hear an idea for a matchup, it'll literally bother me for years. That Led Zeppelin Beastie Boys remix that I did, that really bugged me for over a year, and I really wanted to do it with Quinn, and Quinn just wasn't feeling it, and that's kind of like what I wanted to come on here and tell you about, was these tragic stories. And Quinn was drunk in 2004, the end of 2004, or I want to say fall 2004, and we were practicing for a live show where we were playing literally over 20 songs, and most of them were songs that I had written. And you know, that's a big deal when you have tons of songs that you've written and none of the other members have written, but they want to do something with, and it throws you off, and you have to rehearse it. And we were just rehearsing it, and I'd said, well, let's just play it this way and get it over with, and Quinn wanted to change it, and you know, we were used to yelling at each other, and maybe I was a little oversensitive, but he said, I didn't want to play your faggy music. And I packed everything up, and I went home, and I canceled the show. And I waited for them to call me, and they never did, you know? I was like, okay, I guess they really don't want to play my faggy music. Fine, alright, never mind. So I started making music by myself, and then I saw them a year later, and they were very excited again. You know, and we were all excited again, and we got everybody together and created P-Disco, and it was this huge amalgamation of Flow/P-Disco, and like just several members, and even girlfriends involved and stuff like that. I don't want to go too deep into it. Hopefully we'll get into that with this Psycho-delic Disco era. That's my cat trying to get out, but he doesn't know it's freezing cold out here. He'd be like, oh shit, gotta get back in. But yeah, April Trinka, she inspired that last video, for sure. She's one of my best friends here in Statesville, one of my only friends. She's a little bit of a flake and a goofball, but she has a lot of the same idiosyncrasies and eccentricities that I have. So we get along really well, and we're good blaze buddies, and we could stay up really late and make fun of shit, and, you know, do our own mystery science theater of life, you know? It's pretty funny. But she compares the flow and the natural order of things with torture music, is what she said. You could use our music to torture people, and I think that's a little harsh, but I'll admit we are an aggressive, instrumental, electronic demon band. It's really crazy. Flow and the natural order of things is some pretty horrific stuff. Some of the times it's beautiful and hypnotic and psychedelic, and then other times it's just like pretty rough, you know. Not the kind of stuff. I haven't met many girls that like it, but at the same time, it's I've seen a few, you know, twisted girls, you know. I've been told I'm kind of morbid, and you know, it's pretty morbid music. The flow and the natural order of things, you know. The flow and the natural order of things, excuse me. But yeah, my first single was Everyday Life, and I'm gonna play that at the end of this video, because I haven't released it, and I really don't want to release it. I just want to keep it a private thing. So I'll play it at the end of this video and show some photographs. But Quinn went out of town. We were roommates in 2001, and Quinn went out of town, and I recorded my first single with vocals, and it was called Everyday Life. And I recorded the news, and right after that, Predict a Paradigm. Or I think it was actually E-Day, Predict a Paradigm, News, and so forth. But I'd done 2 songs while he was out of town, and he got really upset, and I was actually kind of baffled at first. I was like, huh? You're bummed out that I made... He loved them. He still thinks they're amazing, but he was bummed out that he wasn't involved in the projects, and I told him that they were just prelims, that I had to see if it was... I'd never done a track with a vocal on it. So I made one, a single, and I got addicted to making fucking singles. And, you know, you have to understand, we were recording to cassette tape, and then we switched to digital, and then once I hit digital and got into the programs and started layering sounds, that's when I was born. DJ Analysis was born. I often say that DJ Analysis started in 2001. I think I called myself that a couple times before that, but literally in 2001 is where DJ Analysis was born. And DJ Analysis is technically dead. I finished all my remixes and matchups. I don't think I'm going to be doing any more. I have a total name change coming up, and I can't mention anything. I don't want to mention diddly squat, because, whew, man, I'm nervous talking about this story because it's so one-sided. It's what I know from the flow and the natural order of things in psychedelic disco. So you're not going to hear everybody's story. I would love it if everybody from this group just put on their own videos, and we put it together and like put all the links together, and it just bam, all those videos just happen to meet in a playlist. That would be fantastic if it was a Flow P Disco documentary, because you can literally talk about every single one of these 50-minute mixes for longer than the 50-minute mix. The fourth angle alone that me and Joey recorded had 114 sounds, literally 114 different recordings and sounds layered together, and it sounds really rough and tough and mean, but the lyrics are actually very positive and beautiful. You just have to listen carefully. It is very ironic and subliminal. You wouldn't think it was a protest song the way it sounds, but it is kind of pretentious and protesty, and we've probably broken several of those rules. I can't say I've broken the fourth rule. I don't think Joey has either. Nobody's going to ever have any trouble with that fourth rule, unless you love that fourth rule so much that you can't go without having it, But I would certainly, you'll have to listen to the song. But Everyday Life has really depressing lyrics over really pretty music. I probably will be remaking Everyday Life. That was the whole point of holding on to it. My very first single, and it's Patrick Rivenbark, shout out! He said that was still his favorite song, and I agree. It's probably my best song. Until I almost said my name. I can't do that. Oh my god, I almost said my new name. I can't do that. When my new album comes out, that'll beat D-Day, That'll beat all the old stuff too. Just because, you grow, you change. People change, so don't ever forget that. And you never really want to look behind the curtain. So, I have surprisingly little to hide. Nobody really cares about stealing my songs, and that's cool. Maybe I'll get sampled when I kick it or something. I am feeling my own mortality. That's another reason for the rushing and the putting. I wanted to put these videos out so you could see me personally before everything goes into production mode. And none of these videos are personal, and they're just like, check out this book! Whoa! New single by Chucky P! Chucky P, that's what they used to call me when I was a little kid. DJ Chucky P, because I used to rap really fast. I don't really rap anymore. I made a bunch of raps, and, I always did kind of like comedic raps. And now I'm just gonna leave, I'm not gonna lie, and I hope nobody takes offense to this, but I'm gonna leave rap to the originators of rap. I'm gonna leave it to the black people and my friends, I even wrote a rap for a friend of mine recently, that is super tight. White people, I hate white rap. There, I'm just gonna say it. That's how I should have said it. I hate fucking white rappers. And I guess I only did it in a comedic fashion because that's the only way white people, to me, sound. I would even put Beastie Boys in dance. I know that sounds crazy. I would never put them in rap because, I've had people say, oh, man, Beastie Boys, man, Beastie Boys. I like the Beastie Boys, but if you're going to compare it to regular rap, it's going to be called white spazzy rap, okay? I'm 38. Been around since I was listening to music, and starting to understand it at around 10 or 11. So you're looking at, 1990 to now, It's white spazzy rap, okay? So no more raps. Even Booty Booty Bong Hits Booty. God bless my fucking terrible soul. It's about it. I just wanted to talk about these albums. Subtle Shuttle is not subtle. It's a lot of our singles mixed with a lot of our really great instrumental sounds that are unique. You know, it's Subtle Shuttle's kind of like your ultimate flow record, and then 40 Minutes of Horror is kind of like your White Album disc 2. You know, it's not quite as good as the first album, but still great. You know, you still remember it. You know, comparing the Subtle Shuttle and 40 Minutes of Horror to the Beatles, that's pretty funny. But at the same time, not too far off, because out of all the stuff that I've recorded and mixed, I still love listening to the flow in the natural order of things, and Industrial Modern Rock Live, because it was so original. It was so balls to the wall, and we didn't care. You know, Quinn especially didn't care. He was just fingering all over the place, you know. No offense to Q. He's good at pulling out melodies, but he is crazy. Alright, I love the guy. Literally. And I would have him come over and record melodies all day. But I'm doing my new album by myself because there were too many influences. And we'll get into that with P-Disco. There aren't too many clashes in the flow, and I feel like I've fixed a lot of them. Like, Joey was always bummed out about having his voice lowered or pitch shifted down in Living a Dream. Yeah, it didn't sound like him, but at least it matched the song better. And it was because I had manipulated and fucked up the song to all kinds of new levels. In a good way. You know, it was my final version. But when I released it on Mixcloud and on SoundCloud, I did go back and speed up the entire track, including my voice a little bit, just so his voice would return to normal without affecting the whole song, and you wouldn't really notice much of a difference. It would just be actually really great. It's really fantastic. That's Living a Dream. And this is one thing we'll talk about. It's one of a big argument that always comes up with Quinn, and I constantly have to remind him of it. And one time, they actually caused a little bit of a problem. I've got the scar right here where I almost cut the tip of my pinky off. I should have probably just decked Quinn. No offense. But instead, you know, he had this beat up car seat, and I like stabbed his car seat, and then the knife closed on my finger. Kershaw. Leak. Yeah. I was pretty angry because it was not the first time we talked about it. I recorded the original insertion, pressed against the ceiling insertion instrumentals back to back in the same song. It's on Subtle Shuttle, and it's Teresa's favorite track. That's why it's on the album. And Quinn did an overdub remix of the Living a Dream part. And I play the original instrumental all the way through, and then I play his remix part at the end right after that. But he always gets it mixed up and says that he was there with and helped create the melodies, and he did the melodies and all that instrumental track. I'm like, no, dude, I made that whole instrumental part. That first 4 or 5 minutes is all mine. Your track interrupts the end of the second part, which is literally the same thing, with your overdub on it. And admittedly, me and Joey did write the lyrics to Living a Dream at San Remo with his vocal melody in mind. His melody didn't actually get into the song. We used it for vocals, is what we did. We virtually sang his melody. In a way. The timing of the melody. But and admittedly, for the Psycho-delic Disco remake, we were going to lean more towards the I know that I have been here once before. My life is a battery for someone's reality. Yeah, it's a little cheesy. It's a little, you could say it's a little inspired by Matrix and Lawnmower Man and Scratch from the Cowboy Bebop episode. You know, it's oh man, it's great. I love Living a Dream. That might be my flow in the natural order of things climax. With Joey involved. And mine and Quinn's best song is Feline Obsession. That was the original song. He calls it Not a Love Song, but I don't call it that because there's another song from the 80s called Not a Love Song. And I hope he didn't know that when he was singing over my track. That's certainly annoying. And those lyrics did not make it into the remake, which was kind of crappy, but Rachel really wanted to do a remake of it. And we did this slow version because she couldn't hit any high notes. I'm not trying to be mean, She could belt out at her max, but she could never hit any high notes. I always sustained her in songs where she sings because she could never sound adequately like a girl, and I can sing a pretty decent falsetto alto, you know? Yeah, I could sing like a girl, okay? I sounded like a pretty decent girl when I did the Sailor Moon video the other night. The da 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 da. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I can't judge myself. So, yeah, let's just say I backed her up a lot. And we'll get into that later with P-Disco, but I just wanted to go over these records. Settle, Shuttle, and 40 Minutes of Horror, they're crucial Flow albums. And then after that, you have Never Sleep and Fucks 4. And Never Sleep is just sounds. It's all the really cool crap we had going throughout the series of the Flow. I mean, and all of those instrumentals they're very original. That's all I'm going to say. Never Sleep is unforgettable. And you can listen to that one probably more than those first two, Settle, Shuttle, and 40 Minutes of Horror, because of that. Because it is so interesting. It sounds nonsensical, but very original. And Fucks 4, I did an overdub project where I took 40 minutes of ambience, you know, from our music. You know, all of our music, just like any samples that I wanted. Pitch shifted them, switched them around, and I layered it for 40 minutes. And then I did it again, and again, and again. So you're hearing like 4 layers of constant changing sounds for 40-some minutes, and it's called Fucks 4. And that's actually online for download if you wanted to actually download it and have it and own it. It's definitely worth it, and it's very, very psychedelic. And I remember taking it over to Quinn and Joey and Teresa's, and they were, I don't want to say, but I think I remember Joey crying listening to it. I want to say we listened to it at Chris Godfrey's again a year or two later, and that's when he cried. But one of the Godfrey and Quinn were living together, and I pulled out Fucks 4 and said, "Hey, you remember this? This is like right when we broke up, you know? I like right before the whole I don't want to play your faggy music thing." I had showed them Fucks 4 and was on a kind of a mixtape craze. You know, I built several mixtapes and just was branching out. I was doing more remixes and matchups. That's when I started doing remixes and matchups, the year before that, actually, with vinyl. And there's a little vinyl playlist on that Reverb Nation page. And like I said, Fucks 4 is downloadable completely on SoundCloud. Very good. That's about it I wanted to say about the Flow. Some tragedies, some wimpy stuff. Joey had a complaint. I talked with him recently, and I always thought me and Joey were always cool, and it seems that we are. And we're actually on a business venture right now, and trying to rekindle some opportunities, you know. Joey said the only complaint he had was that I was unemployed a lot, and I'll admit I'm always gung-ho and passionate. I was willing to sacrifice, you know, food and natural living comforts. I would sleep at the top of stairs, you know, with these guys. You know what I'm saying? Not in a house, obviously, but like they don't have an extra bed, so I just like threw this little foam thing down and laid down there. Maybe not even that, just a sheet, you know. But then we were back up and partying and planning and recording the next day. He said that I railed him probably for not being more involved with the Flow. And no offense, he did have a lot of, like, girls would come into town and they'd be excited that he's in this band, and wow, that's really cool, you know, Charlie, wow, well, whoop-de-doo to that, you know. I mean, no offense, dude, I'm the same way, all right? I regret everything that happened with YZ because of Brandy. If Brandy hadn't been in the picture, I'd probably still have a cool kick-ass guitarist, you know? And I love that guy, actually. He's pretty awesome. And I love you too, Joey, and Quinn. You know, I love you guys, all of you. And the Flow of the Natural Order of things is, at least the 3 of us can still be civil and have a good time, the original people, and the Flow is ultimately, you know, my favorite thing. I've barely looked at the paper except for like the album names and things like that, just in the order in which they were released. And I'm actually really nervous. Because, like I said, I only have one side of the story. The side that I know. And like I said, 2020, hindsight's a bitch. But some things I probably should have known. Especially after experiencing it twice. And the only thing I'm going to complain about with Joey is that the girls that he was into did not appreciate the projects, and they prevented him from being involved with the projects. And that's why I've always kind of treated him kind of like a guest star, you know? And I forgot to mention Sahola Mina, or actually that's part of the P-Disco era anyway, but there's several songs where Joey even has instrumentals that we never fully recorded vocals for, and that would be a real treat to get together. And he has a really cool Don't Touch Me, I Burn instrumental, and that would be really tight to actually sing some vocals over that and actually have a single for that, or at least he would have a single for it, you know. Reverb Nation has been a good repository for me because I'm able to upload individual projects and you know, showcase from a lot of eras. You know, there's flow material, MP disco material, and you know, there's also this is the main thing I wanted to talk about before I went all P-Disco crazy. Because I only grazed on it in this first segment. Saturday Not Live is part of the Reverb Nation pages that I put up. There's Chiseltown and Saturday Not Live. And Saturday Not Live is a comedy repository. It's not just Industrial Modern Rock Live. Industrial Modern Rock Live is a radio show that me and Quinn and Joey made. And then later on in the P-Disco era, you had other members as well, like Jake Porter and not Jake Porter, I'm sorry, Wisey, Chris Bishop, and Rowdy Rachel Moore. You know, and even Hot B, Brandy, was on like 2 or 3 episodes. And the movie, of course. Gotta plug the movie. Saturday Night Live is just a comedy repository for all the comedy we did. News briefs, monologues. It's fantastic. You know, it's really funny. And a lot of the stuff that's on the Mixcloud albums is even going to be in there, like even B-sides and rejected material, you know, earlier versions. What else did I want to say? I guess that's it. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to go into a drug history. That's like crazy, but let's just say that a drug specifically ruined psychedelic disco. Psychedelic disco was kind of like a beautiful thing. We kind of fucked it up, and no offense, Joey, you kind of have to say, and admittedly, I've even said it too, I do stupid things for bitches. In your documentary, if you were to record one of these documentaries, if everyone was to record one from the group and put this together so it would be an actual complete, you know, story of the flow and the natural order of things in psychedelic disco, even you would have to say, yeah, then Kathy dragged me into my bedroom, and I was there for 4 months. Like that, you have to put that in, and you have to go into details too. I want to hear gory details. You know, I know you disappeared at one point with Anna Baxley. I'd like to know intricate details as to how that went. I'm just kidding, but she was a hot mama. Man, I almost flipped out when I heard her and Jay Weitzel were together. Oh, you killed me. Oh, Adam Jay Weitzel. Okay, but yeah, psychedelic disco. Okay, so the flow and the natural order of things had been kaput. You have to understand, I ran into Joey and Quinn. I ended up over at Godfrey's house, and I ended up showing off some singles. One of those nights, we hooked up my iPod to Quinn's computer, and it zapped his computer. And I fucking never had an iPod after that. I was like, fuck iPods. I mean, that's just devastating to like fry somebody's computer because you plugged your iPod into it. That's interesting. Cute little Apple tactic to, you know, fuck over a PC user. I don't know. Conspiracy much? Maybe? I don't know. But yeah, I'm not even really reading that. I don't know why I'm holding it. So yeah, after I Don't Want to Play Your Faggy Music, you know, I started recording some pretty awesome singles, actually. Shell Game, I was recording, I had a crazy loony version of Cupcakes and Booty Booty Bong Hits Booty. Dance All Night and Shell Game, those are like my favorite. And I had a Feline Obsession remake that me and Rachel put together, but like I said, I was more the high voice on that, the falsetto high voice, you know? Oh no, actually, I'm singing like a low, deep voice on that, like shriek back, and it's weird. I just don't like that fucking Feline Obsession 2 second version. I like the original one with me and Quinn. That one's tight. The Not a Love Song version. That one is, that's the ultimate. I wouldn't even remake it, you know, I just like that one, you know, the piano melodies even, like I said, Quinn's got a knack for coming up with really cool melodies, so, you know, he owned that fucking track. He ruled it. He even played the original melody that I told him I was able to sing to it. You know, I was like, hey, I can actually sing the song I just wrote last night over this beat, you know? And we did. You know, I played a beat, and he played a loop or two, and then we mixed it down, and then he overdubbed it, and it was like, wow, that was easy. And it's really cute. Not a love song. Feline Obsession was the original title. And the original song sounds really sad and slow, you know, and that it's good that it's poppy, but it has a little bit of different melody too, you know. Very depressing. I always write, for some reason, sad love songs. I guess that's the only ones that, because I have a weird, jolted way of looking at love, I guess you could say. So it's always sci-fi and miserable, almost, you know? Space Love, I forgot to mention that on the last video. Space Love is another track that I did that was kind of a failure, again, trying to capture, like, you know, a really pretty atmosphere and stuff, but it's very lacking, and it just would need to be redone. But the lyrics are kind of catchy, if not corny. Some of my earlier work, like, I think everybody has that problem, you know, where, you know, it's cool we have a record of it, but will we say it's one of our best, or do we regret it? I don't regret it. It's just kind of cliched in a couple of parts. And forcing a rhyme, you know, my new music doesn't really do that. In fact, rarely did I do that before. But yeah, let's see. Jake Porter. Like I said, I had broken up with we hadn't really broken up, we just were out of communication. I expected them to call me at some point to get back together, and I don't know what they were doing. I have no idea. In fact, that might be part of the beginning of Quinn's downward spiral. I had broken Quinn out of his shell. He used to be timid and quiet and creepy, and I've never seen him to be creepy. You have to understand that he's been my best friend since I was 18. Maybe that means I'm creepy, which, big deal. Anyway, for years he was awesome and my best friend, but I always knew he was shy and quiet, and I broke him out of that shell. Over the years, he had learned to be brave, you know, but kind of in a bad way, and Dustin kind of propelled that. Chris Godfrey, I love you and everything, both of you. I love Dustin and Chris. Both of you guys are awesome. But you guys drink hard and you don't stop drinking, you know? And Quinn does that now too. If you hang out with him, I love you, buddy, but you gotta cut it out, you know? That's the beginning of it right there. I mean, I wasn't there, you know, supplying that. We were drinking and smoking, you know, and I wasn't there just getting him blunted and passed out, you know what I'm saying? It probably would have been healthier if we'd hung out and remained personal. But I don't know. And he may have his different stories and different resentments, and there's obviously a million other stories and other situations, but those are the main turning points in the music, is what I'm saying, and in the recordings and in the mixes. These are the turning points that I'm talking about, and the reason they came around. So yeah, I'm sitting there smoking with Joey in 2007. Jake Porter is our guitarist. Rachel Moore is singing with us and wants to play pianos and wants to buy a synthesizer and play a bunch of sounds, but doesn't want to mix any of them or do any actual work. Yeah, that's really great. That's just what we needed. Me and Quinn and Joey, we can sit down at these editing programs and just kind of go nuts, you know? Whereas Rowdy Rachel would pretty much buckle. So her intentions, we'll talk about that later. But Jake was our guitarist, and he was pretty good. And he ended up leaving the band, which is kind of sad, because he said that his favorite thing about the band was Rachel's voice, and then quit the band. And I was kind of astounded because now that Rachel and I are disconnected and stuff, I don't mind saying that I never felt like Rachel's voice really matched our music. You know, she always went with the blues kind of style, which was not very digital sci-fi friendly. You know, I don't think she cared about the flow and the natural order of things, or even the idea of what psychedelic disco was. And I thought psychedelic disco was a name that required living up to it. So those are some pretty prime singles. And on Mixcloud, you get this really ghetto-rigged and, like all my mixtapes, this just like short list. You know, if you want to hear the other songs that I cut off that, because I thought I might be selling them maybe, you know, but I was like, no, I don't want to confuse that stuff with my new stuff. So I went ahead and put it all online. The extra singles are on SoundCloud, and I'll provide all the links in the description. So you'll have the Mixcloud albums and then the SoundCloud singles. If you want to just hear the vocal tracks with a couple of instrumentals, go to SoundCloud and they'll play like 34 tracks in a row that have vocals and just utter craziness, you know. The singles from these 7 albums. But yeah, he said he didn't want to play in the band anymore, and which is sad, because meeting Joey in 2006, 2007 again, after like a year and a half, maybe a year and a half hiatus between the Flow breakup, you know, that introduced Reason, a program that allowed us to sequence our beats and have multiple layers and effects and be able to change the voices in between and the sounds of everything. Literally, wow, I don't want to go into, that's a whole other documentary. But meeting Joey again and actually hanging out with Joey, which has always been pleasant and a joy, by the way. He is one of the most, just, man, talk about a guy you just, light shining right off of him, let me tell you. I can't, man, am I sucking his dick enough on this video? Man, Joey, the all-star. The only person that really technically stays in contact, you know, and is actually thinking. I've got his gears turning. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I've got his gears turning about a record company, an audio-video company. Chris Bishop was the guitarist that replaced him later on down the line, and he wasn't as good as Resin, Jake Porter, but you know, Wisey was a more fun guitarist, and Wisey leaned more toward the sound I was going for, like guitar that wasn't used like normal guitar. He actually understood what I was going for. He created the perfect minimalist grunge that I needed for the psychedelic disco, and Jake didn't like that when Jake was recording with us, and I understand that, because when he would do a solo, he would go nuts, and I love his solos, and Jake and Panda, that stuff is very enjoyable to listen to. And he went on, I haven't actually been in contact with him, and I don't know what his band name is or anything, or if he has a band, but he went off to Brevard School of Music, and so I expect he has pretty awesome prospects going on. Wisey, like I said, though, leaned more toward the guitar that I liked, though, and the sound, and he had a good personality, and he's one of my regrets, actually, because we were moving, and we were probably under the influence of drugs, and we were all broke, and we were all reaching the end of our limit. You have to understand, I didn't even care. Brandy was the one that wanted Wisey to start paying rent. And I wish that he'd just stayed a guitarist that was, you know, staying at his parents' house and visiting us and staying overnight and stuff like that. That would have been smart, you know? Don't ever do drugs. Okay, sure, smoke a little bit, drink a little bit, but don't get out of hand. Always keep your brain, and then record and have a good time, and don't leave the fucking guy to edit all of it and blend it together. Jesus Christ, you guys are assholes. Love you, though. I'm sorry. Sorry, my bad. I'm chill, I'm cool. But yeah, Jake Porter, like I said, he hated doing the minimalist grunge thing, which is perfect for the sci-fi digital environments, you know? Cupcakes from the P-Disco Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends record. We're going to say that Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends is the first CD of the psychedelic disco era, and you can hear major coherency there, or coherence there, where you can hear that we've developed a style where we're writing and building tracks and kind of building them all the same way too, and all the voices are pretty familiar. And by the time we get to DNXG, the Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends, the actual CD that I put out for free, which Rachel didn't like that either, and I want to get to Rachel last, honestly, because she's the one that, like I said, hindsight tells you a lot about what motivated that person, but I regret everything that happened with Chris. And at one point we were moving, and he was talking about how he had to go to sleep, and we still had to unload a truck, and I told him to go fuck his mother, and I didn't mean it. I was just, like I said, I was exhausted and tired, and that was it. It killed everything, and we weren't, and of course I probably had a big ego about it, and I didn't realize it until after Brandy. You see, me and Brandy were supposed to be together forever, I thought, and I'd even let her be on Snot Live and let her perform with us live, which is something I never would have allowed because I'd been kind of through that before with the failed girlfriend attempts, and you really can't date and be in a band together. It just doesn't work. My buddy Patrick will tell you the story about Joey Ramone, and it's like devastatingly sad. Okay, that's it. Those are the members of P-Disco: Jake Porter, Chris Bishop, and of course you got to include Joey Friday and all that, because they all one point you hear all of them, and DNXG is a pretty complete mix that does kind of combine everything. Even Trick helped me record a couple of layers. Patrick Rivenbark. Let's see, Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends was the first flow disc that I put on Mixcloud. Fuck 6 is a bunch of sounds again mixed together, kind of like Fucks 4, only Fucks 4 is more ambient. Fucks 6 has beeps, and it kind of is a little more fun, but it's another one of those ambient soundscapes that takes advantage of the Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends sounds. Very cool. Very pretty too. Eston Dickinson guitar loop at the very beginning, very simple, quick loop, But Fuck 6 is very cool, and it showcases a lot of that 2007 Reason era, where me and Joey were pumping out instrumentals. And I gotta give Cue Ball a shout out too, because Cue Ball was there for a lot of it, But he always wanted to take, like I said, we were into a drug that was enhancing our music and keeping us up really late, and we would always smoke and drink and stuff like that, but this one thing just kept us going. And it was, like I said, I'm not naming any names or talking about drug types or anything like that, but Quinn always wanted to take it home and get drunk and go further down the rabbit hole into the abyss and stuff, and it just furthered, again, Quinn without supervision, he will never live up to his potential. He has to have a group team effort thing going, and they have to go out of their way to pick him up and scoop him up. He'll go out of town for like a couple of days, and you'll record 2 songs. Why didn't you wait for me? Well, how could I wait? These were just things, they were experiments, and one of them was a failure. Predict the Paradigm, which I had remade, and I've been showcasing the remake for forever, and then Cyborg Stripper is just really beats, I think Dance All Night is at the very end of it. It's a track that didn't make DNXG. It wasn't that great. It's kind of like a blues song, and I don't know. It's one of those MIDI tracks that I made in between Flow and P-Disco when I was by myself. Even Shell Game is from that era, but Shell Game kind of survived because it's so much fun. Okay, I don't want to go off on too huge of tangents, but Rowdy Rachel. Okay, me and Joey, we were smoking weed and mixing it with our new favorite thing that we'd researched and found out that nobody had ever died from smoking it. So, alright, it's okay. So we're smoking it, and, I'm not even going to apply any opinions here as to whether or not you should or shouldn't or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about here. But me and Joey were smoking, and Rachel came by, and she said, me and Joey kept passing it back and forth between ourselves, and she was like, hey, what the fuck? Can I hit it? And I'm like, because I knew that she had a problem with this particular substance when she was a teenager. It's a tragic story, and I dare not talk about it. It's personal. But it's, I caved. I could have said something like, oh, I'll just get you a fresh one, or I'll get you a different thing, hindsight's 20/20, and it's a bitch. And I hadn't told her yet. And it was like it was a secret that I'd wanted to tell her for a couple of weeks, and hadn't had a chance to. And you have to understand, it was minimal amounts, too. People would do this thing in 20 seconds, whereas we would make it last a week, and it started out like we would do it only when recording. But by introducing it to more people, it spread and spread. It should have just been tight-knit between me and Joey and Quinn, and people would just have to be like, well, why are you looking all sick? Well, we're recording. We've been up for 45 hours. Okay, fuck off. Why do you have Newports and Marlboro Reds? There's just so many weird things. Like I said, this could be a huge documentary if I wanted to, but I'm not doing that. Okay, but it turns out that Rowdy kind of held a grudge all through those remaining years. For like 3 years, she had held a grudge over that incident, and she continued to smoke with us too. Anytime, not as hard as all of us, but she did continue to smoke. At one point, we all lived together. It was like the dream situation. But because of that outside chemical influence, everything fell apart. By introducing it to a girlfriend, like I told Joey not to introduce it to blank, and as soon as he did, he went into the bedroom, and that kind of killed the Joey end of P Disco. P Disco continued with Jake and me and Quinn and Rachel, but Joey kind of became a guest star, and I don't want to get personal, but even Joey started to fall apart and succumb to the addiction. I wouldn't allow myself to succumb to the addiction because I was still the editor and had to blend all the tracks, and I was the dreamer. I was the one that had the dream of DNXG, Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends, and the mixtape and the album, and pursuing that, and still pursue it. Or not so much the flow and P Disco, but still pursue audio. Like I said, audio magician. Like I said, I'm not going to get into embarrassing things, and I can't blame Joey again, because I've been there too, because like even I at one point succumbed to it, and me succumbing to it is more like I decided I was going to stop because the bathroom was busy. I went outside and I peed behind a tree, and I went to go pee, and I peed, I farted, and then puked in rapid succession. That was pretty much it for me, and then, probably dialed it back, But that's because I have a mission and a dream. That's different. It can't be compromised. A girl can't say, hey, Charlie, come in here for 4 months. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't that long. I keep saying that, and I'm exaggerating. But girlfriends ruin bands, and especially when you give somebody with addiction problems an addictive substance, and that was irresponsible. As irresponsible as I was going, here you go, Rowdy Rachel. That was more irresponsible. No offense. And like I said, corrections in the comments below. I'll take it. An extra video, make a video, put all these videos together for the complete story. The sad, sad story of the flow and the natural order of things and psychedelic disco. Too many hands! Cupcakes is grunge. Sleep to This is a pretty love song. Remade the news with Rowdy Rachel, and it wasn't bad. But it kind of proved that she couldn't write. She's a horrible writer. And we went through 3... Well, I'm not saying she's a horrible writer. She writes poetry now, is what my friend Tad told me. We tried 3 or 4 times to write a verse for Shell Game for her. and nothing worked. Shell Game was pretty perfect already. I was just forcing an extra verse, chorus, with a female vocal, and kind of retweaked my original lyrics to include a second party for repartee. And I ended up writing her lyrics in the news. I ended up writing her lyrics, most of her lyrics in Shell Game. She could not write her segments. She wanted to be part of these songs. She wanted to be part of it. And in the end, she could never. The only song she ever put out was Project Robot, which was called Iron. And, you know, I'm sitting there. I've worked with her for weeks on this song. Her and Joey built this song. Joey, I don't know your level of involvement. You probably, I don't want to even guess. But you and her put together this really speedy, fast, crazy thing, and I ended up building an instrumental, slowing it way down and pulling segments and loops and things to make it like coherent to where you could sing over it, you know. I don't know how you guys came up with that as an instrumental for her song, but in the end, it's a really trippy song. Samples Star Trek Next Generation, really cool. And probably the coolest thing about it is, and it's part of the story, you know, Rachel, halfway through it, I look at her and I'm like, this song is about dating a robot, isn't it? And she goes, you figured it out. I was like, yeah, but nobody else is ever gonna fucking figure that out. It's so fucking subtle. I didn't say it like that. It's still too subtle. It's barely recognizable as that. And the only thing that saves it from crumbling and even making it into these new compilations is A, because it's part of the Floppy Disco history, and B, it's Rowdy Rachel's big project that we all put a hand into. Like, even Quinn has vocal cues that we put into it for live shows, and we loved them so much that we kept them in the final version for Drugs and Ex-Girlfriend. Quinn played some vocal cues. I had to write some raps, and of course I built the entire song out of the Reason project that Joey and Rachel had made. And so it's like 4 people who have a hand in this track. And then by the time we're dating Brandy and recording Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends and doing all these extra sounds and rebuilding these singles, you know, even Brandy's sitting there banging on like wooden wind chimes and stuff like that, and regular wind chimes, and you know, everybody's a part of this stuff now. But you know, my raps kind of saved that song because it's the only part that alludes to it, her singing to a robot. Imagine hearing the song without my raps, and then tell me that I'm lying. Way too subtle. And that's why she writes poetry. And Joey, that's his problem too. He doesn't really write songs. He's great when you have a team effort, but when he writes his own songs, he's writing poetry. He's not super awesome at coming up with melodies like Quinn is. Whereas I'll come up with a melody and then play it. Quinn can hammer out extra melodies and overdub stuff. That's a really unique trio. It's a shame we never fully utilized it. And I think, like I said, third time would definitely be the charm. Especially with people who had actually written their own songs. That's the crucial part. You have to write your own songs. Bring songs to the table. Otherwise, you're all just doing this guy's project again. And that would be lame. But yeah, towards the end of Rachel's era of P-Disco, she'd been on Emerald. I don't think she liked it very much. Mainly because she didn't like doing impressions, I don't think. But when she left, like I said, hindsight's a bitch, and I didn't really know a lot of it, you know, but turns out she had held bitter resentment for over 3 or 4 years about me handing that pipe to her. You know, I never should have done that, apparently. But she blamed me instead of the fact that we were all doing it. And I had the rule of only doing it when we were recording or writing, conceptualizing, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It was something that would propel you and keep you awake. And it's not cocaine. It's bad. That's why I don't want to talk about it. It's taboo, and it's part of our past. It's behind us. It better be fucking behind us. No business opportunities for you there, my friends, if that's the case. no chemical dependencies need apply. Chemical dependency cases. Oh, yeah, I'm smoking a lot for this video. Like I said, it's tense subject. Alright, that's pretty much it. DNXG, Fuck 6, and Cyborg Stripper are your albums. Oh wait, there was one more thing. Rachel, forgot, yeah. Rachel told Quinn this the last day before she moved all her stuff out. She said that she had started working with us because she had the intention of making money. But I never thought that we were ever capable of it. And I wouldn't say, I can't speak for Joey and Quinn or what they've done over the past few years, but I never stopped recording and mixing. Now, admittedly, I haven't released any singles or even shown any sneak peeks of my songs, except to Joey and a couple of other people, and Quinn, you know. They know that I have new singles and recordings, but I'm still waiting, you know. I'm copywriting and building a company. So, it's all going to be part of that. But yeah, Rachel said that she was in it for the money and that it had all been a wasted time and failure and blah blah blah. And I had always looked at it as a growth time. I'd never even thought about going pro in that condition. I knew we were still breaking ground. And only now do I have actual professional pop songs. And I call them pop singles. I'm not going to actually make a whole album, I don't think. I'm probably just going to release really badass singles. And going to have some tooth surgery. Man, my future is looking bright, actually. And yeah, I'm smoking a lot for this video, but believe it or not, I only smoked, 6 cigarettes in the past 48 hours. That's pretty astonishing. For a smoker, having, like, a pack last, 5 days. But like I said, this was uncomfortable, so I wanted to be smoking while I was doing it, so I wasn't like... Cupcake Sleep to This News, Time and Again. Time and Again is a cool Jake Porter track that I built with him, and Cancer Hero. Both of those are Jake Porter raps and songs that I built with him. Unfortunately, Jake isn't on the vocal versions of Time and Again and Cancer Hero because by the time we built DNXG, we had all new members, but I still had the instrumentals. And I was like, well, what about all the cool songs we built together? And he's like, you can have them, whatever, I don't care. So, yeah, no offense, I'd done all that work. I wasn't gonna bail out Cupcakes even. He plays the guitar on Cupcakes. It's fantastic. It's kind of sad, actually. It's a bummer, Institutionalized. Now, I wanted to talk about Institutionalized for a second. When I wrote that song originally, all I had was a melody and 2 sentences. It was, elbows are sacred, they're only meant for leaning, kneecaps aren't tasty, why can't I stop sucking? And from that point, I had all these other members and, Rowdy, Rachel, and Jake, they all wanted to get in on this. They were like, oh, that's a cute melody and blah, blah, blah. And, and admittedly, I probably was going to put some dark stuff in it, but it never was supposed to be about 3 serial killers and, it's gruesome on that Drugs and Ex-Girlfriends album. So on the Mixcloud version, believe it or not, I've actually cut it down to just be my part, the analysis parts, because as brutal as they are, they're at least artistic and not sadistic. Well, they're sadistic, but not sick sadistic, and a little too close to home, perhaps. Look, I don't know. I'm not even going to provide any conjecture, but pretty warped motherfucking minds, even mine, of course, but like I said, we weren't even that dark until we were solidified as a dark, grungy, electro grunge hybrid. I don't know what the fuck you call P-Disco and Psycho-delic and the flow. It's really original, but I don't think you can classify it in any genre. Just because it's so random, the different things. The Project Robot is Rachel's track, and it goes into Segue and Subconscious. And Segue is kind of like, okay, you have to understand, me and Joey had built this Subconscious remix for Quinn, and we called it Subconscious Gift. It's pretty awesome. He may not love it as much as his original 2-minute single, but we did end up using his 2-minute single in that remix. So it's kind of hard to deny that the Subconscious remix is badass in comparison to the original. And that's the one that makes it onto DNXG. And it has this huge intro lead-in, the Subconscious remix. And I ended up kind of linking sounds from Project Robot and sounds from Subconscious remix together, overlapping. You can even hear Dustin snoring in the background, because I recorded him snoring on our couch one day. like, it's fantastic. It's called Segue, and when we played our album live at the Bucket Shop, we used footage from the original film, The Day the Earth Stood Still, over that, and it's very, very cool. The Segue song. And like I said, it's a perfect blending. We even use Terminator 2 sounds. If you listen carefully, you hear like when he's slamming Arnold around, like right before he stabs him through the... Anyway, yeah, secrets. In fact, if you own the DNXG CD, I meant to have it out here. I've only got 2 copies of it left. I meant to have it out here so I could hold it every time I mention it. So every time you see my hand go DNXG, it's me pretending to hold the CD. I think you'll notice that if you listen carefully, and I think there's a message sample like on the paper inside. It's written there, in the special thanks area to Terminator 2. Shell Game, I don't want to talk about that. It's one of my best. Just go listen to it. It's fantastic. Dance All Night, both of those are great songs. And Au Pair Dreams, wow, from Patrick Rivenbark. I wanted to make a shout out for that. That is a beautiful song. It has very little plays, and the remix itself has next to nothing plays. I think maybe either 0 plays or 2 plays, something like that on Reverb Nation. So I love everybody. I even love Rachel. I just don't like knowing things hindsight that, you know, her only goal was making money, and I don't mean to be mean, and it's kind of a Virgo trait, you know, this certain time period in Virgo in the calendar, you know. Quinn and Rachel were both Virgos, and Wisey too, but Wisey was more energetic and fun Virgo, whereas Rachel and Quinn were more the quiet, like, I listen to NPR all the time, you know. they question everything. And they're timid. And, I don't know, I lost my train of thought there, but, you know, Rachel and Quinn would kind of gang up sometimes, you know, and pressure things to change, and I wish I hadn't done that, you know. Wow, I really did lose my train of thought, but anyway, that pretty much touched everything. I wanted to explain, you know, why I don't really think, I think Rachel's reasons for leaving were kind of lame. I think Jake's reasons were kind of lame. Chris Bishop, I blame on myself, again. I don't blame Brandy. I'm just saying I do stupid things for girls, and I did what Brandy said. If Brandy said we had to charge him rent, if Brandy said this, if Brandy said that, and blah blah blah, it became a juggling act. I didn't know how to hold it together, and I guess I ended up swearing and making it personal, and I regret that. I would take that back in a heartbeat. So Wisey, this is a shout out. Give me a ring up, dude. I've got tons of new tracks, and a guitar wouldn't hurt, you know. That's it. Yeah. I think I've covered everything. April said it sounds like torture music. Psychotic Intense Hymnazi. It's not even a song, it's just mostly samples, you know, but it's psychedelic and crazy, you know. I mentioned that song. It's a Whole Lot Mina. That's just me and Joey singing live. We didn't even get to make a full-blown single of it. Brian, if you're listening, yeah, it's like your favorite song. Brian Carrillo. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm looking at my sheet here. I think I've covered everything. I regret having Hot B on Emerald, Brandy on Emerald, and any affiliated songs, because, you know, like I said, when they leave, you have to hear them, and also that project is kind of defunct at that point, you know. The Saturday Night Live movie is very unique in the fact that you'll never hear Brandy on Saturday Night Live or Industrial Modern Rock Live ever again, or on any songs, which I regret. I didn't write any songs for her, you know. I kind of got burned by ex-girlfriends, so I stopped writing love songs for my girlfriends and would just write love songs as generic songs. I tried to do that from the beginning, from the get-go, but it didn't work. So every song that I write has a specific girl in mind, and you'll hear I've got some homage stuff for Brandy on the new records and the new pop singles, and hopefully she'll hear them and be like, "Aw, he's singing about me. He's got to be singing about me. Who else would fucking be singing about me?" Anyway, yeah, that's the flow and psychedelic disco, the way I remember it, and the way things ended based on. And I don't, like I said, I could go into more, I guess, but that's just all I remember and why. And people look at me as like a dick And maybe that's because I'm analytical, and maybe because I don't sugarcoat things. And like, if I say, no, this sucks, and no, it's a bad idea, and hey, why don't you write your own fucking song instead of trying to fuck up mine? I probably should have worded things better. I probably could have, I used to say this thing like, talk to the motherfucking track listing, man. Come on. That's kind of mean, and I've mellowed out, but come on, write your own damn songs too at the same time, That's it. Good night.
You don't know when you suffer, you don't know when you gain. All you know is fed to you and then ingrained into your brain. You really think you're right, but your mind has lost sight, and that is why you're made to dwindle every day and night. All the wrong choices, all the windows missed, all the opportunities clenched up in your fist. All the broken bones, all the broken dreams, all the mindless torture, all the kicks and screams. You don't get to live, you don't get to die, you don't get to laugh, you don't get to cry. Forgotten when you're gone, slander while you're here. Go there and sit down, now stand up and cheer. Mash your paper cuts in it, mash your paper cuts in it, mash your paper cuts in the bank industry. You don't know when you win, you don't know when you lose, you don't know if it's sin and you never get to choose. Just walk the crooked path, for it's the only one that's known. There is no straight and narrow, there is no golden throne. All the handicaps, I read between the lines, I watch the greedy smiles when I turn to sign. All the money's thrown to poor, white and old, all the rejects are thrown into the mold. Mash your paper cuts in it, mash your paper cuts in it, mash your paper cuts in the bank industry. Mash your paper cuts in it, mash your paper cuts in it, mash your paper cuts in the bank industry. You're an android, so take it to the void, then you're unnoticed, all won't care about the noise. Take a load of hell to the corporate girls and boys, and pray the hater neighbor doesn't bring you hellish toys. All the production, all the industry, stop the consumption of Earth's energy. Always kept down, always on the run, always be a robot, never number one. Get into a line, then prepare to pay the fine. Partake of the swine, wash it down with some wine. Subscribe to the grind, pay it with your spine. Purchase petty things like sugar for the mind. Massive paper cuts in the banking industry, foretells of foreclosure for content currency. Safe from harm and skyscraper for alarm. It's all these men and they'll take the fucking arm. They'll take your mouth and give it to their lawyers, and they will ruin you and put you in a zoo. You don't get to live, you don't get to die, you don't get to laugh, you don't get to cry. Forgotten when you're gone, slander while you're here. Go there, then sit down, now stand up and cheer. Sign